I'm on my own now. Oh. Bit early. Bit early. Oh dear. 5 minutes. Ba, 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 ba. Hi, Clive. All right, Jamie. How are you, mate? All right, Ray. I'm blooming nervous, Clive. I don't know if I can go ahead with it. Trig. All right, Kev. Come on, then. We've only got 2,000 people watching. Got to wait to get up to 10,000. Ten, actually. Oh, Jason. Oh, Ian. Yeah. I'm awake, Ian, just. I'm shaking. Oh, crikey. 23. No, someone's got bored. There's 2 less now. Oh, right. Give me a bit longer, I think Clive said, before I start. He's given me a few things to talk about here. A few tactics. And a couple of my best matches that I had from the old days. Might have heard that a couple of the stories before, but if you've seen my videos, but I'm going to repeat them anyway. Right, Tim, James. Oh, it's getting up there. All right, mate. Right, here we go then. Right. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, all right, Tim. See you later, mate. Right. I'll have a little chat about fishing the waggler to start with. Well, there's a couple of methods that I've been doing lately. A couple of years ago, I was practicing for a Super League down at Staverton, and I was practicing the slider, and I had a really good evening's fishing. Obviously, pleasure fishing, you're going to catch loads of fish anyway, I suppose. But I did notice, right, that I wasn't missing any bites at all. And I've noticed that on the slide, fishing the slider before, you hardly miss any bites. All right, Martin. Anyway, so I decided to try fishing the waggler on just my normal fishing, and started playing around with fishing it on the rivers and even on the lakes, on the shallow lakes. And I'll show you basically the river rig that I was using. If I can just get it out for you. It's a bit long, so you might have to, it might take a little while for it to unwind. Yeah, I've noticed on the river nowadays there's an awful lot of small fish, a hell of a lot more bleak up in the water, so you really want to be fishing a lot more shot down the line than the strong rigs, and the slider's ideal really. And I've started using it. I just fish a 6-inch hook length. Yeah, and I just above the hook length there. I've started with a number 6 shot, but to be honest with you, quite often just a number 6 isn't enough. So I'll very quickly slide a 4 down to there. So I've got a 4 and a 6, quite near the hook. Just make sure I'm there. All right, Richard. Just got to acknowledge people on there coming on. Yeah. Anyway, starting with that, it's about, and the next shot would be just so when you hold that, I expect everyone knows this, go like that, the hook mustn't get to that the next lot of shot or you'll get tangled. So above that I'll put a couple of 4s, and then above that, at that point there, say a string of 4 number 1s, something like that. You've got to play around, depends on what depth you're fishing really. I mean, up a lot of the places I fish are sort of between 6 and 9 foot deep, and yeah, that's the sort of thing I'll start on really. You know, fishing with maggots or casters. Now I've given up starting fishing light because you nearly always get bitted out in the summer months. Now, I use a quick float change, just one of these MIDI ones. These MIDI ones will do the trick. Any one will do really. One with quite a big eye in it, so it slides easily. Look, so quite a big eye in the bottom of the float changer there, and just rest it on a little bulk of shot. I use the old anchor shot. They're quite good for non-toxic. I've got a load of old ones, but because they're cut quite well. And then above that, instead of locking your float like that, like normal, just bring that. Use just a very small shot above that float change, and let it slide. Basically, the advantage of that is you can fix your waggler at a nice comfortable set. This is really putting me off on this wave business. Yeah, you can fix the waggler at a nice comfortable depth to cast it out, but you can still fish, like you can set it at 6 foot and fish 9 foot, and it'll just slide up to that number 8 shot there, and it just makes life so much blooming easier, and you just hook so many more bites on a slider because it slides. When you strike, obviously when you strike, it's going to pull straight through. Straight through to the hook. You haven't got that bulk there to pull through. And it's especially important when you're fishing bigger wagglers. It's even more important, I think, when you're fishing bigger wagglers. And I've been doing that quite a lot lately on the rivers and that, and getting quite, section wins reasonable results on it. And you definitely don't miss as many bites on a slider. So yeah, there you go. That's something worth trying, really, I suppose. If you're missing bites. If you're not missing bites, you don't need to, do you? But the beauty of it, I mean, you can set it to the minimum depth that you're likely to be fishing at. And if you want to deepen up, you only got one shot to move. It's dead easy. Just moving that one number 8 shot up and down. And yeah, obviously if you're fishing much deeper, you'll have to use a normal slider knot. But as I said, you can try that. You can try that on your. I'm bloody nervous as hell. It's weird. I've done a few of these before. And I feel a bit nervy today. Anyway, yeah, that's that deeper one. But you can still use that. Let me just hold on a minute. Let me just wind that back on the winder, because otherwise I'm going to get in a major mess again. In fact, let's start to try and, oh my God. Yeah, the other thing about that is sometimes if you are getting tangles when you're casting out, the best way, I should be, all right, Brett, I should be saying hello to everyone. Yeah, if you are getting tangles on it when you're trying to fish a lot of shot down, sometimes just spread the shot evenly from 6 inches above the hook and have each one of those shot exactly the same size. So it's like a line of shot. And it's like a even distribution of shot down the line. And you'll find that sometimes you'll get less tangles like that. So yeah, sometimes you get less tangles stringing it than bulking it, as long as you string it properly. How long are we in? I've got to stop after 15 minutes. Won't be set. I've got it. Obviously, there's a lot of line here. It's set for quite deep water. Right. Similarly, you can do exactly the same. I'll tell you what, this blooming writing and half putting me off, Clive. But I'll have to get used to it, I suppose. Need some beard to calm. I know, Mark. Cheers, mate. Oh. Right, Stu. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, I use a little one like this for fishing shallow water, like on commercials. But if you've got like 2 or 3 foot of water to fish, then it also works on commercials. I've won a couple of matches on Heron Lake at Ivy House, just fishing this sliding that far. It's only sliding 6 inches, but again, you don't have to put more bites on it, especially blooming F1s. Those F1s are a nightmare, but if you use this little tiny slider, you can hook a few more. You could hook a few more fish. The other thing I ought to say really is it's not all about dotting the float down. You can. I have a spare number 6 up under my bulk, and just keep knocking that off now and again. Just having a little bit more float showing, especially if you're getting line bites on commercials. It's often better to have a 3/4 of an inch of float stuck out the water to let the fish have it properly. Other times you've got to dot it. You just got to play around with it. There's no hard and fast rules. That's pretty much covered that really on that slider. Yeah, give it a whirl. Give it a whirl if you want. It definitely works, I tell you. If you want to fish this, if you want to fish the waggler. What's happening now then, Clive? Oh yeah, I'll go on to another. I've got 4 methods here, and that's one of them covered. Ah yeah. Hi John. Sinking the line on the waggler, right? Sinking the line. I used to, or do what? How do you sink the line on the waggler? What? Rod tip under, flipping aggressive, real. I find you pull the float off too far off course like that. But a better way to sink the line on the waggler is just flick the line, just flick it to the float. Try and sink the line between the float and halfway back to you, leaving a bit of line up. Well, halfway between you and the float, and you haven't got all that resistance on the strike of the line coming up through the water. You can, and you've got enough line under the water to present the waggler. Kevin Asher has told me that in one of his books. Yeah, that's stuck over the years, and and also when you're doing that, if you're clipped up to an island on a commercial fishery, just flicking it a couple of times, you don't pull the blooming float miles off the island, and it does work. All depends on the humidity of the air on the day. Obviously, if it's raining, it sinks easily, and if it's like a day like today, you've got too much surface tension. But yeah, just flick it a few times. And yeah, Maxima I always use. I just found it. I'm probably a bit old-fashioned, but I've just found that a really good line over the years. And yeah, works a treat. And that'll do for the waggler, won't it, for the time being, I think. Trying to think of things a little bit different to what other people do. Hooking baits, that's right. Hooking baits. How do you hook your casters? I know, through the blunt end. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, through the blunt end. Yeah, I used to always do that, and I used to hate it because I used to always come back, miss the bite, a little bit of the shell over the spade of the hook, miss the fish, until one day I was fishing a match on the Bristol Avon at Melksham down Conager, and having the same problem. It was a summer afternoon match, and if I put a maggot on, I just got bleeped or minnowed out. If I tried hemp and tears, I couldn't catch on the hemp. Caster was the bait. The caster was the bait, but I was missing these bites, and to be honest with you, I didn't know even what it was. I was missing that many bites, like nearly every bite. I was getting the odd little fish, but I didn't really know what it was. Anyway, went through the other end of the cast to the pointed end. Hook just tried it. I thought try something different. Hook the hook through the pointed end. I never looked back. I mean, I ended up with about £9 a dace. Come second in the match. Yeah, it was all these. It's tough to do this, no? So it was all these 3-4 ounce dace that were doing it, and ever since then I haven't looked back. It makes a hell of a difference. It's the soft end. It's the softer end of the bait, if you think about it. The other end, the fat end's really rock hard, and it's a job sometimes to pull through that end. And yeah, so if you're missing bites, try it. It's worked for me big time. It really has. And yeah, particularly when you particularly when you're I was going to say, when you have to bury the hook, because sometimes in clear water, on clear rivers, yeah, for shy roach and days, you have to bury the hook. So yeah, go through the pointed end, and tell you, unbelievable difference that makes. That's quarter of an hour, Clive. Clive, say something, because I want to know what to do now. Speak for a quarter of an hour, he said, and then do something. I can go for a couple more methods if you want. Where are you? He's gone off again, I expect. Hook baits, fishing, yeah, sinking the line. Yeah, one more little method to speak about. Not something that I'm really known for. Feeder fishing. Done quite a lot of feeder fishing this year. Not pole feeder fishing, but right, Jono. But fishing, because the river all winter has been pretty much flooded or just coming off of a flood. Keep going, mate. Okay, and it's been just coming off of the flood, and it's been basically a feeder job or a big float job. And I have fished a little series down Barton Farm, which is, if anyone's local, they know it's pretty deep down there. And it's been raging through, and the feeder's been attacked it even for the roach. And our roach are an absolute nightmare on feeder, as everyone knows. And I start off fishing a sort of sensible size feeder to get some bait down there, get a bit of bait down there, and fill it with casters and pinkies. I start off fishing about, I've been fishing about an 18-inch tail to start with, seems about right, 08 to a 20. But then they just start to wise up, start missing bites. And I've found fishing pinky on the hook does make a difference. A couple of pinkies, you start hooking a few fish again then, but you've got to keep changing it on that feeder. I'll tell you, that the hook length, particularly, you've got to keep changing it. The length going from anything from 2.5 foot down to 6 inches. Ideally, 6 inches is a great way. You get better bites and you hook more, but quite often they won't have that next to them. If it's 6 inches to the hook, that can be a bit too big a feeder. So they've started using these little tiny ones that you can get now. Even go down to that sort of tiny, barely big enough blooming lead, is it? Dear little feeders. But the advantage of these, you can use real short hook lengths with those, and it won't scare the roach away. Doesn't seem to scare the fish away from the hook so much. And once you've got plenty of bait down there, I always find I'm a bit wary of keep feeding that much bait for roach anyway. So I just sort of go down through the feeder sizes. So I quite often end up on one of these little tiny things with, as I said, a 6 inch hook length. And I'll tell you what, you just start catching fish again, hooking them again. It won't last long. You've got to lengthen it, put the bigger feeder on, just keep varying that hook length, I found. And caught quite a few roach on that this winter. And the other thing is about feeder fishing, or any lead fishing for that matter, is especially for roach and dace, is again that finding down business. Don't have to make a difference. I went down to all right. Do you know what? All right, Mick. Ronaldo got it in the end. All right, Ronaldo. Oh bloody hell! In the old days, I used to fish a place called Pondfields on the Bristol Avon, which was a real deep stretch of the river, and really deep as well. Just above Bradford on Avon. There's a few bomb holes down there apparently, and they used to be full of roach. And we used to fish straight leads for them in the winter sometimes. Long tail, quite a light lead. And what taught me the lesson once upon a time was I was missing a bite of chuck on a 20-08, which is fairly fine. 22 I think I was on 08. Changed down to a 24-06, which is ridiculous. But the bite's gone from little tiny half-hearted bites to proper bites. Started picking the roach up. It makes a massive difference. And on this feeder as well, I do the same. It's just you are taking a risk, obviously, fishing 06 on the feeder because you might hook a big fish. But if the target species are roach and you've got a very small probability of hooking a big fish, you want to be catching as many of your bread and butter fish as possible, and you might even get a bream or a small chub out on it. You might, but obviously don't fish light unless you absolutely have to. But just be prepared to find right down. But yeah, that feeder fishing, underarming out a feeder at about 10, 11 meters. It's brilliant. Loved it this year. Might do a couple of those feeder qualifiers, but probably get hammered. But yeah, that was a couple of things I found out learned on the feeder. Right, I'll carry on, Clive, if you like. How long we are? Don't go for too long, do we? Talk about my. Do you want me to talk about a couple of my best matches or something like that? Keep going, mate. Righty ho. I'm sure there's plenty more little tactics I can talk about, but I haven't really got enough time, have we? Like five of my top matches. There you go. I'll probably just do 2 or 3 actually, because 5 would take me a bit too long. First one, I got to mention it, is the old Thames Championships back in Hello, Clive. What's he said now? Okay, mate. Yeah, Thames Championships. 1984. I was lucky enough to get asked to fish for one of Godfrey Hargreaves' teams. Godfrey Hargreaves was a fishing tackle shop owner, House of Angling in Swindon, and he ran the old Talisman team, who were a really good team at the time, and they still are a good team, but they were like one of the very top ones in the country at the time. Anyway, I was in about the E team, I think it was. I was picked for the E team, and I think there's about 12 people in the team in those days. And yeah, anyway, this Thames Championship was a 1,000 pegger, and I drew. All right, Gordon. All right, Mick. Interesting, Gary. Okay, oh, cheers, mate. Get the boat, get the boat out. All right, Mark. Anyway, let me. You put me off my blooming stride, Mark. Where was I? Oh yeah, on the Thames, Upper Thames Championship. Now I drew Radcott upstream of the road bridge, past where the river divides. Keep on going up. Keep on going up the straight, and about. To be honest with you, I can't remember. It's flipping. God knows how. No, I said 1984. It was a peg which looked like a chub peg. There you go. I had some stick-ups on the far side, all the flow on the far side, which is where you want the flow for chub on the Thames. And yeah, and I'll tell you what, I said it in one of my other videos, it blooming pegging one half tight in those days, I can tell you. It's when we caught anything at all, really. And yeah, pegging was so much tighter to get everyone in, really, I suppose. Anyway, I took, what did I take with me that day? No pole, because the poles were in their infancy, really. I had a stick float rod, a waggler rod, and a lead rod, and 4 points and maggots with me. That's what I love about the old days. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, the old boys watching, but in the old days, things were so much blooming simpler and lighter, and because there was no poles about. Poles it makes things so much more technical, and you got to carry so much more. Obviously, you catch more on them as well, but it was just nicer in the old days. And lighter, you could just carry your stuff to your peg for miles, and we were fitter as well. Anyway, yeah, I drew this peg. My whistle's gone. Started fishing the waggler. I just set up a stick and a waggler. Fed a stick float line. Loose fed a waggler line. I was fishing for about 3/4 of an hour. Not a bite. No one's had a bite along the stretch. I think there might have been. It might have been like a frost that morning. Maybe not, but it was probably getting towards the time of year when there was frost and stuff, and that's always a killer on the river. Anyway, no one's had a bite, hardly. I've had just about come off the waggler, and it's gone right down the end of the peg. It's gone under, struck, in little tiny roach. Brilliant. 1 point out of about 100. Great. Anyway, next cast down. It's gone about halfway down the peg this time, the old waggler. Wallop, straight under, strike. Ooh, must be a trub. Come on. Careful. This and half put me off this blooming. Right. Careful, guy. Bang! Ah, damn! Blooming lost it. Reeled in. Kept on reeling. What's happened? Lost the lot. What's happened? I'll tell you what's happened. I don't know if anyone remembers the old rods of the old days, like the chrome-eyed rods, but the chrome eyes on my old President rod had just worn straight through, and the line just pied because it worn the Maxima line. And anyway, threaded it all up again with a new spool of Maxima. Started fishing again. Pouch full of white maggots every cast, and I've hooked another big fish. Bringing it in. Oh no! Come back. Oh, slime all up the line. Might have been a bream then. Right, for the next 3.5 hours, I've had a bite every single run through, a fish every single run through pretty much. It was just unbelievable. It was just fantastic. It was unbelievable fishing. Apparently, they just stopped Coke Water Reservoir in Swindon with all these bream, and they'd all showed up in my peg. And the poor blokes either side couldn't get a bite. I mean, just to show you how tightly shoaled the fish were. The bloke upstream, he was going just into my peg, and I let him go a bit further, within about a metre of where I was catching him, and I was like, "All right, that's your lot, mate. That's your lot." And I think he blanked. Poor old bugger. I think he blanked that day, and yeah, and the bloke down from me, I think he had a gudgeon or two, and I've had £96 of bream. I mean, what? It's just never do it again. Never ever happen again. It's just fantastic days fishing. Oh, Richard Cole said to me, that'll never ever happen again for you, and it never has done. Obviously, it's just one of those red letter days that it's once in a lifetime job. I had a bit of there was a bit of controversy in that match actually, because halfway through the match, a steward came up to me and asked me to stop fishing. Stop fishing. I thought, why? What? Why? We got complaints you're using coloured maggots. I'm not. No, I'm not. Well, we've got complaints you're using. I thought, oh my God, what the hell? I'm not using coloured maggots. I realised why he was complaining. I'd actually, my maggots had sweated up big time that morning, and I put this, the only ground bait I had with me was this Elga Rouge. Do you remember that stuff? It was like flipping proper red. It's like real worm extracty type smell, real pungent ground bait, tacky ground bait. I mean, you could probably, it's long finished in this country, you put sense as it was. I expect you still get it abroad, but anyway, I put this on my maggots, and of course they were like pinky colour, a very light pink colour. And someone obviously thought, oh, he's using coloured maggots. I thought, that's it, I'm going to get disqualified here. I am going to get, there's no way out of this. I've had it with my bloody luck. I've had it. And then all of a sudden, my guardian angel came along in the form of one Wayne Swinsker. Anyway, he's come along. What's up, me duck? He said. I said, they're trying to disqualify me. I said I'm using coloured maggots. Wayne's come down the bank, grabbed some of the handful of maggots, washed them off in the water. One quick wash in the water, brought them out. Yeah, white. How can they be coloured by? How can they be coloured maggots? This lad must be telling the truth. He's absolutely telling the truth. And of course, thank God. Well, because that was proof, and it was Wayne. I was let off. But Jesus Christ, was that a close call? I mean, I don't know. I may well have been disqualified if it wasn't for Wayne's help there. And I don't know. Who knows? And what a great bloke old Wayne is. I've met him a couple of times, 2 or 3 times since then, and he is a right good guy. To show you how good he is, right? That match, he drew below me, down on the corner, down by where the river divides, and he's caught 30. I think he's about 34 pound of these flipping great big chub in the first hour or hour and a half of the match, and I think he's come second. I think he's come second individual in the match. I don't know. Yeah, and he knew he wasn't to catch any more fish. Come up and watch me for the rest of the match in a 1,000 peg team match for Shakespeare. And I think, by the way, Shakespeare won the team event that day. Funny that, really, isn't it? Considering they're the best team in the country, or were one of the best teams in the country at the time. But Jesus, yeah, that was amazing. Fish for the first hour and a half and come second in the match. Yeah. That's that one. That's how we getting on for time. How much more? Clive, come back. Another one. Another match. Another one of my best matches. Quick. I've got a couple more of my best matches, Clive. Anyway, I'm going to go on. I'm going to. Yeah, the second one was Todber Manor Fishery, and this is another one that sticks out in my mind as being one of my best matches because it was flipping unbelievable. I don't go down there very often, but I do enjoy it when I go down there. And I think the match, this wasn't a very big match at the time. I think it was a Wiltshire angling match, but there was quite a few people fishing it. And I drew. All right, Elvis, you need a haircut. I know, mate, I need more than a haircut. I drew Ashlake. If anyone knows Todber Manor, it's a strip. Clive, keep going as long as you want. All right, mate. Well done, Clive. It's a strip. It's a long strip lake, probably about 20 meters, 20 to 25 meters. What someone would say is different width than that, but I would say it's about 25. Sorry, someone's just come over. Yeah, 25 meters wide. Anyway, I fished. Cut a long story short, I fished the waggler to start with, loose feeding 6mm pellet, fishing on the far bank with bunches of dead red maggots, and it was flipping brilliant. Straight bit of peacock, dragging a bit of line on the bottom. When I fished that, it was about 3 years ago, and those carp were quite naive fish then. They're sort of £1.5. £2 was quite a good one, £2 or £3, and they'd have it trotting along. I don't know if they probably still do now. There's so blooming many in there. Anyways, I was alternating between banded 6mm pellet and bunches of 3 red maggot on the hook. I was quite happily catching away these carp, and it was a hot day, and all of a sudden I struck, and oh, where's me waggler gone? And I'll tell you what happened. These float changes are when the rubber gets really hot. It expands. Anyway, the swivel came out the bottom of it, and I lost my float. So I had to set the lot up again, and start again. And 2 hours later, the same thing happened again. I thought I can't be bothered. Not just I can't be bothered to set up again. I don't think I got any of the right size wagglers now to the straight, because it needed a straight bit of peacock because there was a lot of toe on it. And I thought, how much time have I got left? 1 3/4 hours. Because I'll never forget, checked on my watch. I'd been feeding meat because I know that Mark Harper had told me he had a good weight of skimmers on there with meat up in the water. I've been feeding meat out of my hand all day for 4 hours, look. And I've started on a deep rig, fished probably about 8 meters out, I suppose. And I had a carp on the bottom, and the next put in, it's gone down slowly and wallop. Something's taken it right to top 2 foot of water, a skimmer about £1.5. And I thought, I wonder if they are up in the water, because I haven't got a lot of confidence. Up in the water fishing often don't work, but I thought, I wonder if they are up in the water. Gone out on my edge rig, my little dibber edge rig, fishing about 18 inches to 2 foot. And it was absolutely solid with skimmers. They weren't big uns. They were like £1 to £2. £2 was the biggest. And it was like shelling peas. It was unreal. Occasionally I put a slightly deeper rig on down to about 3 foot. And yeah, anyway, I was thinking to myself, it's a £50 weight limit here up on the silvers. Surely I haven't got to that point. I brought the net out, and I thought, blimmin' hell, I have. So I quickly ran back to the car, got another net, put another net in, continued catching these skimmers up in the water, and I've weighed in about £100 of carp and 16 £69 skimmers win 1 3/4 hours. I say skimmers to bream. And that has got to be one of my most memorable matches, because that was what a flipping place that is. I can see why Elby does so well on the meet, catching silvers and carp and winning a bit of both. Because down Todborough, you can win. He spreads it out nicely down there. You can win carp money. Obviously, you can win overall money, silver money, and there's quite a few section places as well. And old Elby sort of edges his bets a bit with that meet, and he's such a positive silver bait. If he gets any number of silvers in front of him, he's probably going to frame on the silvers with meat. That day, I was beaten by 1 ounce for the King of the Manor final that they have down there every year, the silvers final, by Graham Helton. Thanks, Graham. I'll never forgive you for that. Yeah. But I mean, I was obviously on a bloody loads of skimmers, but there was a chap fishing a bit further down from me, and I had to break it to him. He'd been fishing for silvers all day on casters. He's had a lovely day's fishing. He's had £44 of them. I said, I'm sorry, I'd hate to tell you this, but I've just beat you fishing for him in the last hour and 3/4. Been on some bigger fish, look. Just been on a few bigger fish. Yeah, right. Okay, that's where are we? What time is it? I'll do one more, okay? I'll just do the one more. Broadlands, yeah. Broadlands Champs, here you go. Broadlands Champs is probably me other most memorable match that I've ever had. Oh, hello Simon, all right mate? Jamie? It was another long time ago match. Now, Broadlands Lake in Hampshire is right next to the M27 motorway. It's a gravel pit. It's a longish gravel pit with some islands down the middle. It's bivvied up big time now, and it was in those days. It's a real sort of a mecca for specimen carp anglers. But there was also, all right, Matthew. I'm sorry to the people I haven't blooming said hello to here, but I haven't been paying attention to all the people there. But anyway, I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm saying. Yeah. Where did I get to? Yeah, Broadlands. Yeah, Anyway, there was loads of these roach in there at the time, and they had this Broadlands Championships every year, and I was fishing, and I drew the bottom end of the lake by the bottom island, and I set up two wagglers. And maybe a pole rig, but quite often I found you couldn't keep them on the pole on there, because being a gravel pit, it was a bit clear, so the fish quite often tended to, especially as it was going towards autumn, they tended to stay off the pole line a bit more. So I set up these two. That one I know is the one that is definitely the float I use. That old tatty old blooming piece of peacock there, with a balsa insert, I think it's got there. And I use this one for me up in the water fishing. And I alternated. Basically, it's about 7-8 foot deep, and I loose fed three pints of maggots, I think, 2 or 3 pints of maggots. It was the days of standing out in the water with waders on and a couple of rod rests. Well, it was for me anyway, because I'm not that modern anyway. So other people were probably on platforms, but I stood up and had the old bait apron. Loose feeding. I could loose feed like 3 or 4 times every cast, trying to get the fish up in the water. Always trying to catch the fish up at Broadlands, just to catch them a bit quicker. Start probably on or just off bottom, but sort of move up as the day goes on. There's so many roach there; they're just competing for it all the time. And now that float there, he only takes 2 number 1, I think. And that one I think takes 2 BB from a deeper one. And I think I used a string of 12s down for that one. I set that about 2.5, 3 foot deep. That's me up in the water one. And that one, I think I strung some 10s down on the bottom, like 6 or 7 10s from about 6 inches above the hook, upwards to about midway. And that was set about 5 or 6 foot deep. And that's the one I was catching most of me fish on, to be honest with you. You won't get the bigger ones on that. You got a few bigger ones, but that was the one to use to catch more consistently. Bread and butter fish, if you like. I fished at 0820. I can't remember, 0822 or no, 0824 B, I think, B510, I think, at the time. And yeah, now this one, I used £1.5 maxi to get that out, which sounds quite light, but to get lightish wagglers out like that, if you use a light main line, it don't have to make, well, you probably know it, don't have to make a hell of a difference. And there's nothing there. You ain't going to get snapped on anything really in there. You're going to hook, you're not going to hook a carp probably. And it's just roach, it's just roach, the target fish. Now this one, I use pound maxi. Now that is really light, obviously. And you've got to be ever so careful with pound maxi on the waggler. Because it's such a small float, obviously if you're fishing really shallow, I was shallowing that up to 18 inches at a time, you want as small a float as possible, and therefore as fine a main line as possible to get that float out there. And when you strike, it's just a little tiny stroke, little tiny strike on that, otherwise you're going to snap your main line. And the beauty of a little strike as well is the fish won't bolt off, so roach, they're not going to bolt off much anyway, but a little strike for carp or they don't go off, so it's good to strike softly because the fish behave more. Anyway, yeah, now that one was worth a few extra fish fishing shallow. Now I wasn't going to catch many up there because they're so spooky. Fishing shallow like that, they're ever so hard to catch, and you miss a bite. It's so easy to miss too many bites. But when you went up there for the first time, resting the deep one, quite often you catch a couple of these. I can't do it with the phone this way round. 12 ounce to £1.5 fish, roach. Really, yeah. You catch 2 or 3 of these great big flipping roach. And that's what I was doing on the day anyway. Anyway, I ended up that day, but it fished its absolute nuts off. I mean, it was one of those sultry, thundery days where every single big roach in the venue, all right, Andrew, every big roach in the venue was feeding. And I've ended up with £56 of them. And I reckon I've had 20 or so of them touching the pound. Because Simo will vouch on it. I'll tell you, if you have a chat with Mark Simmons, if you know him, he weighed me and he couldn't believe it either. And I had several of them were like £2, touching £2. No, 3 of them I reckon it was, not several, about 3 of them must have been touching £2. Anyway, that day there was a lot of weights. There was I won it with a 56. There was several sort of, I think it was high 20s or mid 30s they were, and it was just another one of those days that will never be repeated. I'll never repeat. It's just fantastic days fishing. Funny about that match. Angling Times rang me up to do a feature on the same peg to do it again. That was a bit of a tall order actually, because we went there and the conditions were just totally different. It was breezy, bright, and no big roach fed at all. I mean, that day I had them that big weight. I think most of the fish were 6 ounces or over, and the day I did the feature, I hardly had a fish of 6 ounces. That's how fickle roach are, you know. I still had 20 plus pound. It wasn't a bad little feature. I had a net of fish for the camera, but it was nothing like that day. No, you can't emulate a day like that. But yeah, that was the Broadlands Champs. We're getting up towards time now. I don't want to bore you anymore with. There's a couple more matches here, but I think they're probably the 3 that really stick in my mind the most. And that's it. I remember that feature. Yeah. Do you? Whip it. I don't. I can't. I can just about remember it. Right. I think I'm done, Clive. You have some questions? We've had 50 minutes is long enough, isn't it, for a little chat? I can do another one if you want. Clive, another one of my matches, if you want. Clive, where are you? Clive! Clive, quick, come back, because I can do another one if you want, Clive. Do you want me to do just one more match, or do you want me to start answering a few questions? Gordon Paulin, please. I'll do another match, Gordon. Yeah? Say yeah. Not boring at all, mate. We're still in lockdown up here in Scotland. Oh, right, sorry about that, mate. I'm still in lockdown because I'm on extremely vulnerable with my mother, actually, mate. So, yeah, I shan't be going out for another month or so. I know people are getting out now. Clive, what are you saying? Oh, he's on Messenger. I ain't got my Messenger turned on, Clive. I can see why he ain't getting back to me now. Hold on a minute. Hold on. What's he? Oh, sorry about this, lads. Sorry about this, people. What's he saying? Clive Branson quit. Quit. When you say that, okay, mate. You could ask anyone if they have any. Yeah, I did. Right, I'm going to do one more, okay? Kennet and Avon Canal, teams of 4, 1985, 320 peg match. 80 teams, obviously. I was lucky enough. Simon Duke, you doing Ivy Festival, Gary? Can't, mate. I'm still on lockdown myself. I'm on the extremely vulnerable group, so I'll be here till like the end of June. I'd love to. I'd blooming love to do the Ivy House Festival, mate. I enjoy that every year, but I can't do it. Are you? Yeah, I presume you're doing it. Anyway, let's have a little chat about that match. Yeah, right. If anyone local knows the Kennet and Avon Canal at all, there's a stretch called Brimslade, which is owned by Marlborough Angling Association. It's a long straight. They call it the Mile Straight. Back in those days, it was really good in areas. I think the whole section was actually up there. It was 80 pegs, which is it's a long stretch, but you might have a job to put 80 pegs in there. But there was. I was lucky enough to draw on a shoal of bream that day, and I'll never forget it. I fished a great big waggler down the middle, dragging bottom, and I only had a third of a pint of casters with me that day, and I decided not to put any ground bait in. I don't know why, but I didn't, and I've I just fished this waggler down the middle of the canal. Bearing in mind there was no boats in those days, so you could fish down. There's no boats to push the fish across. And to cut a long story short, I had 32 pound of bream, and it was a bit of a memorable day, that one, because for all the wrong reasons, although it's a nice match to come second in, because as I was bringing my fish out, I was chatting to Eddie Shortman and a few other people on the towpath behind, dragging the old net at ring by ring, and all of a sudden, Eddie shouted down, "You're losing more fish than you're going to weigh in, Gar." What? Really? Look down. Ah, no. And I looked down to see a bream swimming out the top of the net. I don't know how many came out. I just don't know how many came out. But the bloke next to me won the match to my left with £40. He's fished totally different to me. So it's a long pole, gozzers over ground bait and squat. I think it was. He's fished on the towards the far bank. Just goes to show, doesn't it? If you're on the blooming things, there's more than one ways of catching them. And I don't know if I had enough fish that day to win it. I really don't, but it may have been close, I think. But a double kick in the old, double whammy was that in those big matches in those days, there was a winner take all pool, and I think he won. I think he won about 150 quid on that winner take all. He only won about 100 quid for winning the match, so he won 250 quid. I've won 70. 70 quid for second in a 320 pegger. And an even bigger kicking than that was I had to share it 4 ways. So £17.50 I think that works out at for coming second in a year. So although that was a good match, it was also a blooming kick in the old. Yeah, it was not really one to remember. I remember those old winner take all. Going back to that Thames Champs I won. I only just went in the 50p. All right, Jerry. Any more? All right. And I only just managed to get there to put me money in for that winner take all. If I just missed out by about 2 minutes on putting that 50p in, I'd have missed out on 500 quid. 500 quid on the winner take all. And another 600 quid put on the main pool. But flipping hell, is it? Yeah, they certainly awarded the winners in those days, and not so much for second. Better now, isn't it? Better spread out. The matches are much better spread out now, and they should be really. Even those big matches, I think, if they changed the Fisher Mania, they might have. In the old days, it's like ridiculously top heavy, wasn't it? I suppose it's just to attract people, but I got a feeling I think they pay down the line a little bit more now, which is good. Another drink, I think. I must admit, it is a bit too. I don't always start this early. Honest. Right. Any more? Hold on. Let me have a look. See what Clive's putting on there. I got to just see. Shall I carry on, Clive? I don't think I got any more actually, me old mate. I think that's about it. I mean, there are a few other matches that I've done. I could go on, but I don't. No, that's enough. That's enough, I think, mate. I think that'll do, won't it? Any questions? Any questions? Come on. God, we've been going for nearly an hour, Clive. I've enjoyed that, mate. Thanks very much for allowing me to drivel on. Ah. I have that. Is there any questions? Anyone asking questions? Obviously not. Right. Right. Okay, Clive. I'm going to have to read this out. I always do well. Remember the Plums evening. Yeah, I remember the Plummies, Ronaldo. Brilliant that was, wasn't it? Lovely venue. I do miss those. Yeah, definitely. Right. Right. I got a question here on the. Can I slide that down? No, maybe not. I always do well on the Bristol Haven on the Wednesday afternoon. What is my main plan of attack for the venue? Well, my main plan. Why has that gone all blooming dark? Can you? Oh God! You have to put up with me being dark. Well, pretty standard actually, Clive. I think down there. It's. I always obviously got to try and fish the maximum flow that time of the year, depending on where it is. And sometimes some of the pegs up above the railway bridge there, the flow is on the inside. So I'll always feed almost like a whip line there. And you've got a load of cover behind you, so the fish aren't scared to come in close. And I'll have a 13 metre line as well, my main line, but I'll also feed either loose feed or plop in little balls of ground bait to hand or 6 meters out. Dropping in there, you can quite often catch dace or roach or anything. Most of the pegs aren't like that at Staverton. Most of them are a little bit weeded up on the inside, so you sort of got to get out a little way, a little bit into the flow. To be honest with you, mate, I cap in probably about 8 balls to start with a ground bait, packed with very, very small type of hemp that a friend of mine got, team friend of mine got, like micro hemp it is, and he swears by it on the Gloucester Canal. Steve is, Longy. And yeah, I found I catch a lot of roach on that, over that. I put that in with casters and yeah, casters actually. I think that time of year, just casters, just packers. But I don't go too light on the casters that time of year, because I don't think you can overfeed the fish too. In the summer, you've got a job to overfeed the fish. And yeah, just start over that on a heavyish rig. Heaviest rig at Staverton for me is about 1 gram, with a 20, start on a 20 B511, so with a 4-inch hook length and just above the hook length with number 6 shot, and then I don't bulk it. I just string it, really, just like a strung bolt. I just find stringing the bolt shots quite often better than actually having that bolt there. Not always. Sometimes you've got to have a bolt. Just drop it straight down through all the small fish. But if I can string it, I will string it. Colin Golding told me that. He said, always better to string it, even with big shot, Gary. And I found that, definitely. And you don't lose so many fish because you're not bumping the fish off against the bulk. Anyway, I have about 3 or 4 rigs. That one to start on. After about half an hour, I'll drop down on a pole stick, dragging the bottom with a caster. I try not to start on that because I want a few better fish to settle on that caster before I catch them, if there's any better fish there. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you can't catch on caster, but I like to give that like half an hour, 3/4 an hour. Then I'll fish like a 3/4 gram pole stick. I love them, even if it's not flowing very hard. I think they're brilliant pole sticks. You can just bump a little bit of line on the bottom. As I said, single caster, and if you're lucky, you pick up a nice perch or nice. It quite often doesn't last, but you can pick up 2 or 3 half decent fish on that, and then you come up again, either on that bolt rig again, or an even lighter strung rig with a fine bristle off the bottom. So I generally got 3 rigs at Staverton. That heavy starting rig, the dragging rig, like the pole stick type rig, and one sort of airy fairy rig for fishing hemp later on in the match, or even earlier in the match with things like pinkies and negative baits, just to keep like little fish going in that, really, of any size. And of course the other method at Staverton, and it's won me quite a bit, is that mid match where it goes a bit funny and you're not on such a good peg. There's an awful lot of bleak there, and I'll cast a little tiny waggler around a little closed face reel, so it's quick, so you can quickly release. You can swing your bleak in, and you just a quick release in again. You can catch a few bleak. They won't last. They never do. It's very often they don't last. Even they go off, and then you go back on your roach or what have you. And thirdly, the other methods that work at Staverton is chub. There's a few chub pegs. You can catch them on the waggler if you're lucky. Fair play to you if you can get them out. I mean, some of the pegs are so weeded up. You really got to. The trouble is with that, you've got to gear up, and when you gear up on that, you quite often compromise in the fish that you're going to catch. You're not going to catch as many of your bread and butter fish, but you will get a big chub out because you're on such heavy gear. And good examples. I remember 1 year, 2 years ago at Stavern, I hooked 8 of them during the series of matches. I hooked 8 of them and landed none, but I still went after their matches or something, or framed in most of those matches. So, it's a balancing act, really. Jerry, who the chap that runs the matches, he does very well down there on the block end feeder, on a black cap block end feeder, fishing across to the trees. And that's another good tactic. But yeah, there's quite a few chub pegs down there. It's lovely to stab it, and it's brilliant. There's loads of different species to go at down. That's what I like about it. Chop wormfish for perch if you want to. They haven't played a part so much in recent years, but it does work. There used to be loads of eels and tench down there, but they just don't seem to be figuring nowadays. But that's about that's about that, Clive. Really, I just start on the start on the pole, cupping in 8 balls of ground bait. Topping up there don't seem to work. I find topping up, I would think you want to get quite a bit in at the start, but for some reason, like, you top up and it doesn't make any difference, or it makes a tiny bit of difference. It's almost not worth doing. Sometimes if you top up in the very last hour, it can work, but then that might be the time where the fish are coming on anyway, and where you've been feeding hemp over the top of that line, you might just start catching a few fish on hemp or tares. Last year wasn't a very good year for hemp and tares. It just didn't seem to work very well. I think this year might be, though. If we ain't going to find out, are we? I don't know, but I hope we find out. But quite often, when you've had a wet winter and a hot spring, I've noticed that it can be a good seed year. Good question, Clive. I'd like to ask. Oh, Gordon. Okay, mate. And how did you do? Good one. Good question, that, mate. What is the hardest condition that I fished, and how did I do? I'll tell you what it was. It wasn't so much cold. It was flipping Witherington Farm. I drew peg 4. No, not 4, 7. What was it? Nowhere near 4, is it? 7. It's the North Bank facing everything. And that day, I just couldn't stand it. It was a bit cold, actually. It was flipping raining so flipping hard in my face. I just couldn't, and it just wouldn't start. It just would not let up. And it was fairly cold rain. And my waterproofs aren't that blooming good. And I gave up. It was a team match. It was a teams of 4. Sorry, John and James, but I gave up for an hour because I had to go into and Blakey. And sorry about that, lads. Because I had to go and sit in the cafe for an hour just to dry out. There's other ones, Gordon, mate, that have probably been worse than that, but that's one that sticks in my mind. All right, Sean? Yeah, that's one that's... There's loads, isn't there? Like, you get those real cold days when there's a blizzard in your face. They're not very nice. That's another one. I packed up on one of the matches. That's another one I remember, mate. Worst conditions. At Marlborough, I literally had to pack up. I don't know how many years it was. I'll tell you how many years ago it was. We were practicing for the Winter League semi when it was at Marlborough, and it was about March time even, I think it was. No, February, March. And it was a blizzard in the face. And I had to pack up. And I wasn't the only one. There was cars going home everywhere. People couldn't stand it where I was. It was unbearable. Unbearable. I expect if you're up from up the north, you'd have stood it, lads. But we're not used to that sort of extreme weather down south, and I just couldn't. It was horrible. Good question. All right, Sean. No problem, mate. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, me old mate. Any more? How about this last spring league? How about this last spring league with that wind? Can I remember that? I can't remember that one, Whippet. I didn't. I know I did. Oh yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, that was horrible. Any sort of horrible wind or just conditions that are horrible. Do you live? Oh right. Oh yeah. Okay. There's another one. Team fishing. No, very good question, mate. Do I like team fishing or individual matches? Which do you prefer, and what team do you fish for now? I much prefer team fishing. I absolutely love team. I'm the sort of a bit of a team man, a bit of a negative Jim Bob. I'm afraid. I like to scratch for points. I'm not one for the out and out win. I don't think. I'm always frightened of. I sort of frightened of dipping out for the team. I hate dipping out for the team. I love the pressure of doing well. And hold on, Ronaldo. I just got to finish this one, mate. I love the pressure of team fishing. It's just lovely. I love it, especially fishing for a good team like I do. I fish for Garbalino, Blackmore Vale, which they're a good team. They're a good team, and they're a really good bunch of lads, and I love it. And I prefer. I just prefer team fishing. Did you have a massive? Oh well, yeah, I remember that match, mate. Yeah, I did have a lovely day. I better read the question out, and people don't know what the hell I'm talking about. There's a winter league. Actually, that was a practice winter league at Lechlade 2 years ago, and I did have £29 of roach, yeah. And Ronaldo asked me, did I have a massive stamp of roach? And they weren't massive, mate, but they were good. They weren't. No, they were not quite netters. I don't know what size would you call that. Sort of 3 ounce, 4 ounce. Some people call that 12 ounce, wouldn't they? 3 or 4 ounce fish, lovely size. They look like peas in a pod. That was a lovely day. That was flipping hell. That was lovely. It was just loose fed casters over some ground bait, feeding hemp on the pole, and just it wasn't very deep. 4B12 Drennan roach, I think I used. 0722 hook was ample. I never lost a fish. No, don't think I lost a fish. Double 5 elastic. And just caught, and I thought it's in the league match. Hold on a minute, mate. Yeah. Anyway, I thought I got to win that. Surely I've won this blooming match. No, no. Guess who ruined it for me? Neil Richards, of all people. Of course he would, wouldn't he? He's drawn further down from me. I think he's had £31 on the whip. It was just the pair of us. Lovely. He was. I think he's had. I've had all roach, but he's had a bit of a mixture of perch hybrids and roach. But that Lech Lake can be blooming brilliant, but it can be blooming awful as well, because the following, I see Ronaldo saying he drew it in a Winter League match, and I don't think it's fished like that since. The weeds just got so bad over the last couple of years. You've got a job to find a hole in the weed at Lechlade, along there from the marina. Sometimes you have to go on the waggler to find a hole in the find a little clear patch. Sometimes the clear bit's over by the boats, but sometimes there is no clear bit in which you've had it. You're not going to catch a weight, are you? You're not going to catch if there's weed everywhere. We have to go for bleak, which is what we did this Winter League. How did you get on it, Ronaldo, in that match, if I might tell us about your Tourette's? No, I don't do that anymore, Mark. Tell us about yours. No, I try and keep calm nowadays. I must admit, I have had a bit of a few run-ins with my tackle and stuff in the past, throwing stuff. Mark Pollard, once upon a time, said, "Who the bloody hell's that bloke next to Mike Stone?" He said, "Who the hell was that bloke next to me along there?" That was a match where that was a match, right, on the Lido section of the Watch Raven, and we missed going on the boat to blooming, what's the name of Skanderborg it was, and Mike Stones walked the bank and said, what a catalogue of disasters. Chrissy Haynes, his land, had a £10 barbel, had the barbel in the net, just getting it in, and the landing net snapped, and he lost the barbel. I lost 2 massive chub next to Mark Pollard, and I've had this great big bank of weed in front of me. It probably wasn't that fault of that. I must admit, I was trying a new line. I tell you what, it was Shakespeare Omni line. I was quite happy with my Ultima, my Bayer Ultima 1.8, and why would you try on an important match like that a new line? And what a twat! Anyway, sorry, shouldn't swear. What an idiot. Yeah. Anyway, I've lost it, and after the second one, both rods have ended up in the field, like miles behind me, and Mark Pollard's thinking. He said to Stoner, "Who is that lunatic next to me?" So yeah, there you go, Mark. That was one of my Tourette's. I had £16, mate. Did you? Yeah, that's good. It's a good peg. It's up by the top. It's up by where the marina is at the top of the Lechlade Strait, and that peg. It is a good peg. I think Hippie. Rich Whitmarsh won the section with £9 when I drew down there in the Winter League. Yeah, he had £9 on. It was a bit tougher that day. I've had to fish for bleak. I've come third. I was happy with third because mine was one of them pegs where you couldn't fish on the bottom. It was just weed. You just physically couldn't find a spot. Probably those type of times. I know Adrian McTiffin won a match. He actually raked the peg once up at Lechlade, a Devizes lad called Ady McTiffin. I'm pretty sure he's raked it and done a weight. And Rolsey, the Devizes lad will take a rake with him. Mark Whippet can't beat the roundhouse. No, I know, mate. You know about that peg, don't you? No weed there. Lovely peg. Lovely peg. You done well there, mate. £14 a roach, wasn't it? I don't think it's in this year. Yeah, mouth of the marina, that's it. It's on the mouth of the marina, and it's a brilliant peg. I don't think Lechlade's in this year. I think they're putting in, because of the parking's quite expensive, isn't it? And it's quite a long way from the draw. I think they're going to be putting in. I don't know if it's Clanfield or Rushy. It might be Rushy. I hope it's Rushy. I quite like Rushy. Rushy's tough, but it's you can scratch around for a few fish down there. Anyone else? Any one of the 2,300 people watching want? Oh no, sorry, 23 people watching want to ask me a question. Another question? It's Kelmscott, mate. That's right, Kelmscott. We're at Christ. There's some walks there, mate, isn't there? I hope we can drive to our pegs. That's the beauty of Staverton. Drive behind your peg. Lovely, lovely, love it. Those afternoon matches, can't beat it. Can't beat the round. That's cool. Anyone else for another little question? Last another question. I think we've been on long enough, Clive, don't you? I don't mind. Yeah. I could talk and talk and talk, but I don't want to just bore you any more with my banter. There's only so much in there, let's face it. Yeah. Clive asked me how to. Okay, mate. Yeah. Key to the gate. That's good. Brilliant. Clive actually asked me. Said anything about the coat matches yet? He said it. I haven't, Aaron. No, Coat Water. No, I haven't. They were good matches, weren't they? I only fished the evening league at Coat, but they were nice roach and skimmer fishing. That's going well back. You were just a junior. Your mum used to bring you along, didn't you? Clive Branson. No, I'm not being sponsored by Neil. No. Terry, okay, mate. Topper. Do you know what? I've never got on with topper floats. I know how deadly they are. A good friend of mine uses one to a great effect. They're brilliant. Don't get me wrong, they're brilliant floats. But I tend to use more stick floats. If there's flow on the water, if there's any amount of flow, I just think I can hold. I just prefer them myself, to be honest with you. But still heavy shot down like a croakwell. Yeah, topper floats. They don't work so well on the upper Avon. They've never really. I mean, that's a sweeping statement. They don't. Someone will come back to me and say, "What a load of rubbish, Gary. I've won loads of matches on the Upper Avon." But yeah, Chippenham. Good friend of mine. I have to mention Mick Gale. That's done really well with the old crow quill at Chippenham, catching roach. Yeah, brilliant floats, aren't they? They are brilliant floats. They cast well, but I find got to run it at them. Stick with the old stick float. It's I think I can hold on to them for a little bit better without them riding out. Then I just use stick floats. For fishing bit further out, probably crow quills. Topper used to fish them. I used to watch Topper, and he used to fish them 3/4 of the way across the Avon when there's a downstream wind and catch roach and skimmers and hybrids. He was flipping brilliant to watch at it. Absolutely awesome. There aren't that. It's a hard method to master that Topper properly. I'll tell you, it's not easy. That's a good question, Terry. Clive Branson. Oh yeah. Have you got a lucky mascot, Jim Burton? Got a teddy? Blue Ted. Of course I have. That's Blue Ted and George. I showed you it, Gordon. I can't show you it again. No, I can't show you it again. You seen it? Have a look on the replay. Okay, let's have some more fishy questions, lads. Let's have some more tactic questions. I'm in the mood for a few tactics. Let's have some tactical questions. Yeah, Jono, well done, mate. I'll have to read the question out. For God's sake, Gary, remember to read the bloody question. Whatever. Oh, you've gone. Stick it out there again, Jono. Stick the question up again. It's gone up and I can't scroll it down. Oh, no, yes, I can. Yeah, I'll show you how blooming useless I am at this. Whatever happened to Will Bonney? How good was the lad? I'll tell you what, Will Bonney was a brilliant angler. He used to fish with us, Blackmore Vale. I think he actually he either fished for the junior England side, or I think he did actually fish for something like the under 16s, under 18. I can't remember. I think he's fished. He's fished at a really high level as a junior. He gave up quite a long time ago, Jono. I haven't seen Will for ages. Yeah, brilliant little angler, brilliant, superb. He could have gone far if he carried on. Definitely. I've blooming run out of. Oh no, I haven't. I thought I'd run out of beer. That would have been a disaster. You'd have to wait. Yeah, that's it. You're going to get some stick for that. For what? Oh yeah, for that. Okay, right. This is from Ronaldo again. How good is Chippenham? Love it when it's not flooded and watching you catch bleak. Yeah, I just think Chippenham's a great venue. It's a typical small upper river venue. To be honest with you, as you get older, these big rivers, they're hard blooming work. I used to fish Newbridge all the time. I used to that was my go-to venue, Newbridge. And there was a lot of matches down there. But there weren't poles about then, and I used to just chuck all my stuff down the bank with my bait waiter and everything, and just jump down the bank and fish running lines, and that was easy. Now with the poles and everything, it's a different ball game. There's Newbridge. There's some blooming awkward old pegs down there, and it's hard work. It's good fishing. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good venue. It's a fantastic, especially sort of September time. Loads of fish down there, but it's a bit awkward. Now the upper river, that's the Chippenham. Chippenham is just comfy. It's comfy for us oldies. There's not too many long walks. Yeah, it's an easier place to fish than the wider, bigger rivers. and there's plenty of fish in there. There's plenty of fish there, and it's a lovely venue. You've got a great mixture of species. You know, dace didn't seem to show very. They had a bit of a few cormorants on there a couple of years ago, and it's amazing actually. It was the winter before last, and you could hardly catch a roach or a dace in there. All you could catch was big perch, chub, or bream. And I said, "Now these cormorants are doing all loads of damage," and they must have been scaring the fish. They must have been. This year, it's stuffed with fish again. Oh, it's unbelievable. Perhaps they weren't doing the damage that I thought. There's a couple of the Chippenham chaps said, "No, you're wrong. They hardly touching the river," and maybe they're right, because this year it's been brilliant again for roach. Not so many dace as I've noticed, but certainly roach and chub, bream, skimmers are coming on well at Chippenham now. There's certain places you can catch these skimmers. Well, that's only really happened in the last few years. In the old days, it was just those great big things that are about 40 years old and live forever. And they like feeding once in a blue moon, and there'd be a massive weight, or you just wouldn't see these skimmers. But now there's these sort of nice skimmers coming through. It's a good mixed venue. Lots of perch, like any upper river really. You've got to take your rough with the smooth. Every peg's different, but it's a good venue. Love it. I love it, mate. It's favourite fishing. Jas Matthews has asked me, what is my favourite fishing line? Well, for main line, Maxima. And to be honest with you, Jas, I have not ever tried anything else because I'm happy with it. It's like all these things. If you're happy with something, why change it? And it's the same with me up lengths and rig lines that I use. I just use Seal Star for my carp fishing. I think it's blooming brilliant stuff. It's very stretchy, very hard wearing, and I've got some old. I got a few sort of. I bought a job lot of Milo Krypton Philo, which is another green line. I keep saying this. I got a thing about green lines. I think green lines are more supple and they're more stretchy, and I think they're better. Some of these high tech lines I can't get on with. Obviously, loads of people use them, but I just can't get. I just like a more stretchy, supple line, and that means not quite so high tech. Therefore, I tend to use Maxima and that Milo Krypton. The thing is, you can't really get some of the good lines anymore. Like the lines that suit me. But I'm sure there's some out there that are good. I just haven't, because I've got a job lot. I haven't even bothered looking. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some really good lines about. But yeah, they're the lines that I use. Silstar, Maxima and Milo. Clive, yeah, I do. Do I carry many rigs in my bag? I do carry probably too many, mate, to be honest with you. Just to cover all eventualities, really. I don't go much on loads and loads of different patterns of float, but lots of different sizes of that pattern of float. But sort of like find a nice pattern, something like a Preston Somo or something like that for the old carp fishing. Chianti's a similar sort of thing, aren't they? Let's face it. And I'll just go from like a 3B8 up to I don't know, 4/16s or that you might need in deeper water. But yeah, I suppose we do all we do all carry so much a lot of stuff. Martin said about blown pellets. Yeah, that is deadly. That is an absolutely deadly method. It's amazing actually. Because it's a bit like paste. You get people. I'm going a bit of a change of from naturals to commercials now. But people say like a paste. That's the only thing I could get a bite on. I think it's because it's what you've been feeding. It's what that's broken down on the bottom. And Martin Rogers there just mentioned blown pellets, which is basically what it is you get your 4mm pellets. Say you've been feeding 4mm pellets. Get a handful of them, stick in a 3-point bait box, stick them on the ground, let them soak up for hours, and they'll get to a point where they're hookable. Quite often, that is a deadly bait when you've been, because it's what they're feeding on. Because That's what they're feeding on the bottom. You can put, if it's sort of a case of fishing on the hook what you're feeding. Yeah, you can catch on expanders, but sometimes if you're having trouble catching on expanders, put one of those blown pellets on. I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable. The skimmers or anything really, skimmers or carp, blown pellets are deadly. They're a bit fiddly. It's a bit more. Sometimes they're a bit. If you don't get the right pellet, you've got a job to keep it on the hook. You might have. Like I say, I cup them out sometimes with a paste cup so I can get it out there. Otherwise, they fall off the hook. But if you get a bite, you hook them then. That's the other thing I was going to say. If the bait is just about falling off the hook, you're more likely to hook the bite. But unfortunately, it's more likely like that works against you, doesn't it? The fact is nearly always falling off the hook. But that's how you'll hook more fish when it's like that, just about falling off the hook. Again, it's going back to hooking the bait in the soft end. Like expander pellets, I tend to hook that in the if it's not hard, if you're getting loads of bites, just hook it through like they tell you in the magazines and stuff, or the top one they'll tell you put it through the bit where it's going to stay on the hook. But if it's a bit harder, you want to try putting it through the flat end, because that's the softer end, and that's the bit that's going to more likely to pull out, and you're going to more likely hook the bite. So if you're only getting a few difficult to hook bites, it might be a good idea to think more about how you hook the bait. Good question, Mark. Lee Simpson. Right, okay, Lee. Do I prepare river float rigs on winders? Yeah, too right I do. Before matches, and if so, what length and how do you tie? Yeah, you're talking about obviously not pole rigs, but waggler rigs. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's a good idea actually to have all your waggler rigs on winders. It just saves time, really, doesn't it? When you haven't got any time. And I use I don't know. I'm not gonna. I could show you how to do it, I suppose. Hold on. The knot I use to tie it to the main line is. I'm going to bugger this rig up anyway. Hold on. Let me just tie this one to the other rig I got, and I can show you what knot I use. And this is the knot I found is the best knot going for it. You don't need to use loops or anything. Well, you can do, I suppose, but I use a little double. I can't really show you it. It's blooming knot. It's not very clear. I've got to show you it above me. It's a blood knot, right? It's a blood knot like this. I'm all slippery-handed here, blooming sweaty-handed. Right, everyone knows how to I presume you know how to tie a blood knot, right? Those go through there like that, yeah? Now, if I just pulled that out like that, that would not be 100%. That's probably about 80%. I use what is known as a double tuck blood knot, where you put the ends through the little loops that you formed. So you put them through again, if you like. Oh God, this is all. I'm going to do that one. I've just done one. One's good enough actually. And that's good. That's a brilliant knot. That is. I've never had that go at the knot. That one, a double tuck blood. And I'll tell you when I blooming learnt that one. I drew a peg. On a Bath match on the Bristol Avon Down at a place called Long Meadow. And I cut a long story short, I've hooked 3 chub and lost the blooming lot. No, 2 chub. And no, more than 2 chub, wasn't it? Lost all 3 it was. 3 big chub. They went up this alcove. And everyone, it was on the hook. I was using that knot on the hook lengths then, because this was before I was using loop to loops. This was just when I just used to tie like an 18-inch hook length to it with a blood knot. And I got back to results. I lost every blooming fish, and it's cost me big time in that match. And I had a chat with a guy called Dave England, who does a lot of fly fishing. They're really up on their knots, aren't they, the old fly anglers. And Yeah, he told me about that double tap blood knot, and that is 100%. That won't go at that knot. It just takes a bit more. But yeah, that's the one that I use, Lee, for tying it to my tying that to my main line. Oh, let me just see if I've covered your question. Do you prepare rulers on winders for matches, and if so, what length and how do you tie to your mate? Well, that's a good question. What length? For the actual length of the rig, if I'm pretty. I sort of, if I'm fishing like deepish water, like I'll give it another 6 foot, say. So the likely, if I'm likely to be fishing, I don't know, 8 and 9 foot, I'll probably have the whole lot will be about 14 foot deep. So I got that. I can use that again and again and again before I have to set the lot up again. And I'm never going to go above 16 foot deep with it. And it doesn't really make a lot of. I haven't found it impedes your casting too much. That knot, honestly, it doesn't. I thought it would, but it doesn't impede the casting. It's fine. Just trim it down with a pair, yeah, fairly close with a pair of scissors, and it's fine. And that, yeah, just use that. Just use it. You could probably use loop to loop, to be honest with you. It probably cast all right. I don't know. It's a bit big, that, isn't it? It might not go through the eyes of the rods quite so freely. I don't know. I haven't tried loop to loop, but yeah, double tap blood knot, mate, for that. That's what I use. That's a really good question. Mick Gilbert. Do I know? Oh yeah, I used to know Johnny Matt. Yeah, Vic Bush's mate as well. John McCarthy down at I met him down at Whiteacres quite a few times. I used to do the Whiteacres festivals, and yeah, he's a character, isn't he, Johnny Matt? Yeah, bloody good angler as well in his day. He had that blooming Belingi off to a tee, I can tell you. He absolutely hammered everyone one match down there. He had like £90, which in those days was a really good weight, and he showed everyone the way on that waggler. Blooming hell, he put a lot of bait in mind. He put a lot of bait in, but Johnny Matt, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, too right. And Simon Wheeler, and who else used to go down there? Good names like Tommy Hillier from Dorking. They were the sort of ones. They used to always go down Belingi. I used to go down there quite a bit carp fishing. It was good fun days. Behind the blockhouse, awkward. Jono, what? Behind the blockhouse, awkward. Tis a bit. I don't quite understand your banter, mate. You'll have to please explain yourself. Terry Pierce, Shetland peg under the footbridge. Hold on. How do I concentrate on fishing rather than on the young ladies walking above the bridge? For a great difficulty, mate. But unfortunately, I never actually draw that one very often, so I wouldn't know. Because that is a good peg. Right, here we go. Matty Vater. What is my secret for catching? Catching the decent weights of silvers? I do. I'll tell you what, Matt. I know what you're blooming thinking about. That £100 I had on of skimmers. What I had that day, maybe at Ivy House on what's the name of it? Kingfisher. I have had some other good weights there. Yeah. I'll tell you what I was doing then, and I'll tell you what also that I was doing on other occasions where I've had a few nets of skimmers, and that was fishing little balls of. I think I was throwing in little balls of micro pellet, underarming 4mm pellet out there, and I was alternating the hook baits a lot between those blown fours that I was on, that me and Martin were on about just now. Expanders, 4mm expand. I was feeding a few 4mm expanders as well, so feeding several different baits and swapping around the hook baits. And I'll tell you what, when it got really hard, I was fishing 2mm expander on the hook, because that's like a micro pellet, and that, like, it's amazing how that works. That 2mm expander, when they're, especially when they're fizzing and you can't get a bite. If you go right down, you've got to fine down a little bit, and put one of those 2mm expanders on, and you start picking them up again quite often. And sometimes it is smaller ones, I will give you that. Sometimes it is the smaller skimmers, but other times it's the bigger ones as well. And yeah, and just that's what I was doing, Matt, really. I was just fishing that spot at a comfortable distance where I could loose feed and chuck in little balls of micro and fishing it's quite deep, isn't it? I think it was a 414 Drennan Roach and a 412 Drennan Roach as well. I had both the two set up and just fishing like that on hollow 9 elastic just in case I hooked a carp, but I didn't need the blooming. It didn't hook a carp that day, I don't think, when I had that £100. But other times you hook carp as well, so you need something a bit meaty to get the carp out. But yeah, that's what I was doing, mate. On there, was doing. Yeah, Mick Gelbert, brilliant, Maxima, brilliant line it is, mate, and I absolutely love the stuff. Steve Thief is watching. Mark Brush is watching. Hello, Mark. All right, mate. Nice net of fish on the Gloucester Canal I seen you had yesterday. Well done, mate. What are my favourite natural venues? Clive's come back and asked me, and it's got to be. God, does that include lakes? Oh, do you know what I'd say, Clive? In the old days, I'd say places like Longleat and Earlstoke Lake and places like that would be included. But now I think it's just because they were natural venues. They were natural lake venues, really. But I think now it's got to be. What is my favourite naturals? Oh, sorry. What's my favourite naturals or commercials? Having been brought up on naturals, I've got to say naturals, but I do like commercials as a change. I think it's nice to do both. I think it helps you to. I think it helps to do both. I think it helps your fishing. One complements the other. If you've got the time to do both, that is. I think it's good to do both. If you haven't got the time, then perhaps like Bobby Gullick, he's a good friend of mine, and he said to me, I was having a chat to him, he loves his canals and rivers, but he said to me, it's so hit and miss sometimes that when he goes out for the few times that he's allowed, he can get out, he wants to almost guarantee to have a day's fishing, and that's got to be commercials then, I think. But if you've got a little bit more time on your hands, I think it's nice to do a bit of each. But yeah, I think my favourites are naturals, Clive, like yourself. Yeah, Jono. Just talking about awkward pegs. Oh right. Oh sorry, mate. He was just talking about awkward pegs on the Lerberus to Laven. Yeah, they are. The one behind the blockhouse at Newbridge takes an age to get in and down down the bank and wade out in the silt. And put the foot plate nowhere to put your kit. Yes, mate, I know. Is that the one where you balled it 3 times and won your section? I know when you never forget the match. You balled it 3 times, put about 7. You went back to the car, get some ground bait, put about 7 kilos in, and it worked each time. I think that might have been the way you were. But yeah, that is the trouble. I don't want to knock venues because it's not fair, but it can be a bit awkward. Gordon, best tips for catching gudgeon? I ain't got a bloody clue, mate. Oh God, always after the big one. I don't know, mate. I'm not a gudgeon angler. We fished a winter. We done all right on the Oxford Canal years ago when I was fishing with Thatchers. I think. I can't. I got a pass on that. I ain't got a clue. Gudgeon near the bottom, ain't they? But it ain't always heavy rigs for them, I tell you. So it's not all. Yeah. But generally, it's heavy rigs, light hooks and light lines, isn't it? Mark Downs did a little feature on when he was like a gram float in 06 to a 24. Obviously, the line of the hook matters, but you've got to get down to them quickly. And I can't know. I would have thought you want to try and keep the fish on the bottom. Little hard balls of Picardy. special gudgeon ground baits. I don't know, Gold. Sorry, mate, I cannot. You have to ask a gudgeon expert on that, a canal expert. Some of the boys that do canal fishing all the time. All right then, Red Eye. Gary Etheridge. Any tips on Malden Hill as it's fishing tough at the moment? I don't know, Steve, because I don't know Malden Hill. You'll have to give me a bit more info on that, mate. I don't know the venue. I don't know what it's got in it or anything. But if the venue's fishing tough at the moment, sometimes natural bait's more than pellets. I don't know. I don't know that. If it's clear, if these lakes are clear, the clearer they go, the more it tends to be natural baits. Yeah, I thought it was the one, John. I got quite a good blooming memory. Look. Anyone else? Anyone else? Quite enjoyable, this, Clive, I must admit. After a couple of beers, it's like having a little chat in the pub afterwards, except I can't hear anyone talking to me. Yeah, okay. You haven't come back with anything yet? Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I sort of can't wait to get out again, but I don't know. I want to fish some matches. That, Gordon, that is Hobgoblin. I prefer a stout, bit of a darker beer than the old amber jobbies. Right, Clive, any ambitions for the future? Have I got any ambitions for the future? I just want to carry on blooming enjoying my fishing, mate, to be honest with you. I got no ambitions whatsoever. I'm getting on in the years now, I know. Don't seem like but I am. And going miles and miles, staying away from home all week and spending loads of money on festivals, it just don't appeal to me. I haven't done for a number of years now. I just want to stay local. As I said before, with the increase in traffic, that's probably affected things more and more. With that ever increasing amount of traffic, going distances to go fishing now is a non-starter for me. So I just want to keep locally, just fish locally, and enjoy the fishing and enjoy the company, and try and be gracious in defeat. And sometimes, I mean, when you're younger, when I was younger, I was a bit, he's won that match because he's blooming drawn the peg, I'm better than him. But as you get older, you realise everyone's blooming good. Everyone's good on the day. You've got to respect everyone for their fishing abilities, I think, and say well done. You can learn off of anybody in fishing now. That everyone's so up to speed now, aren't they, in fishing? There's so much information about. It's ever so hard to get a little edge on the next bloke. It really is. You need the draw, really, to win. I notice at Tobber, I look at the Tobber results. That's a good example of a sort of a intensely fished venue with a lot of very, very good match anglers on it. And there's no one really, apart from some of the very, very good ones, they don't sort of dominate it. It's all shared. The results are all shared amongst everybody. And that's because everyone is really good now. And it's the same with rivers and canals. Everyone's up to speed. It's ever so hard to win now. I think it is anyway. It's ever so hard to win. Blooming standard now in fishing is better than it's ever been. It's brilliant. The standard now, God knows what we'd have caught in the old days with the knowledge we had, with the knowledge we had now. We'd have emptied places, wouldn't we, on long poles and things. Yeah, no, that's right. Good. Yeah, just to enjoy it, Clive, really, and not get overly serious about, and not beat myself up too much if I've done bad in a match. Just say, oh well, what the hell? Let's go back and have a coffee or a pint or whatever, and clap the winners, clap the other people that have done well. That's the way. That's the way. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the company. Good question, mate. Any more questions, lads? We had a good old stint, I tell you. Is the sound a bit better this time, Clive? Because I stuck the computer away from it, so it should be. What shall I do? Press finish? Are we finished? Are we finished, mate? Oh, well, I just got to say, yeah, at the end, my old teammate Kevin Abigail's come out of ICU, and it looks like he's on the mend. That is flipping brilliant news. I wish him the best of luck on his recovery. Wish him all the best with his recovery. Brilliant. Go for it. Go on, Kev. We'll see you soon, mate. Fantastic. Okie doke. I think we're going to have to we'll finish on that one. And I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have as well. Okie doke. Finish up.